Temp check. What kind of summer are we having this year? A family road trip summer? A beach bum summer? Or a wake me up when the sun sets summer? With Instacart, choose your own adventure and skip the shopping side quests. Where available, you can get ice cream delivered to your hotel, sunscreen to the pool, or cold brew to your bed. Well, door, in as fast as 30 minutes. Wherever you find yourself this summer, you can get the goods. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
When you pick up some scratches, cause you want a fun break, the playful way you scratch is the next choice you should make. You can make your dog's leg kick and scratch with that. You could even grab a laser pointer and use your cap. You can build yourself a homemade scratching machine, or use a piece from your chess set. Go ahead, grab the queen. Scratch like a DJ with your record player. A cactus could scratch off that scratchable layer. Cause when it comes to scratching, there's a million playful ways. Thanks to scratchers from the California Lottery, a little play can make your day.
Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Introducing Carvana Value Tracker, where you can track your car's value over time and learn what's driving it. It might make you excited.
Whoa, didn't know my car was valued this high.
It might make you nervous.
Uh-oh, market's flooded. My car's value just dipped 2.3%.
It might make you optimistic.
Our low mileage is paying off. Our value's up.
And it might make you realistic.
Car prices haven't gone up in a couple weeks. Maybe it's time to sell.
But it will definitely make you an expert on your car's value. Carvana Value Tracker. Visit Carvana.com to start tracking your car's value today.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Scarred for Life, the podcast where we open up old wounds by looking back at the films that scared us as kids. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth.
In each episode, our special guest brings with them a movie that traumatized them as a child.
This week, our guest is writer, director, producer, and podcaster Joe Russo. And no, not the one from Marvel, the other Joe Russo, Horror's Joe Russo, the best Joe Russo. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I love that introduction.
I had to do it. I had to do it, as they say.
I just to get it out of the way, Dread Central wrote a lovely article the other day about one of my recent movies, and boy did I enjoy how much they played with the Joe Russo confusion, and in my favor.
Well, and Dread Central connected to Joe Russo because he is the producer / kind of co-host the Postmortem with Mick Garris podcast. And I actually don't know if I know the full story of how you met Mick and like how you guys got together.
Oh yeah, I can tell that story. That's a good story. So I used to be a development executive.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Yep. So when I was a development executive at a small production company called Level 1 Entertainment, Mick came in for a meeting, and in the meeting he pitched us a spiritual successor for Masters of Horror called Nightmare Cinema. Yeah. And I was like, I love Masters of Horror. I love horror anthologies. I want to do this. What do I need to do this? And, you know, we had a whole kind of early life where we took it out as a TV series with my production company attached. It didn't happen in that iteration. But when I left being a development exec to go off on my own and explore writing and directing and producing independently, I took that project with me, and we found some money for the script. And then once we had the script, we found money for the movie. And while we were in pre-production for the movie, I went to a friend's housewarming party. And they had a friend there who happened to work for a company called Podcast One. And they were like, yeah, if you ever have any ideas for podcasts, let us know. And, I was familiar with Mick Garris's background, not just as a filmmaker, but before that, he had done, all these interviews for the Z Channel. He had done a lot of classic behind-the-scenes segments for things like Gremlins and Goonies and The Thing. And then most recently, like in the early 2010s, he did a TV version of Postmortem. And all that stuff's available on his website, MickGarrisInterviews.com, if you want to go check it out and plug someone else.
We'll put it in the description of the podcast.
Hey, there you go. I love that. So I basically was like, well, there's this guy I'm doing this movie with, and he's a great interviewer. I think he'd be really good at podcasting. And literally within 2 weeks of that conversation, we had sold the show. And we were like, within 3 months, we were up and running.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And then about 2 years into the show, when we were with Fangoria, they made the suggestion that we start doing interstitial episodes outside of just Mick interviewing people. And then we do Ask Mick Anything. And then that's how I became the pseudo co-host of the show, which has been fun because we've been doing that for like 5 years now, which is crazy. And the show's been on. We're in our 7th season.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we just won Podcast of the Year at the Rondo Awards, which is cool.
Yay! That's so cool.
So that's awesome, and how you got to meet Mick, and it sounds like that is very also much like mixed in with how you became a filmmaker, or like what on your own to be a filmmaker. So like what kind of inspired you to say, I'm going to go off on my own and do that? Because that's like a terrifying thing, I feel like. And so I'm curious what that inspiration point was for you.
Well, so I moved out to Los Angeles in 2010 after a very short career in Arizona doing some production work. I went to Arizona State, got my film degree there. While I was finishing up there, worked on a bunch of different shows and movies that were coming through town because there was still a tax incentive. And then in 2010, the Republican Congress brilliantly got rid of the tax incentive and all of the production work dried up. So I said to my wife, I was like, I need to go to Los Angeles if I'm going to have a career, and she said, that's fine, but until you find something stable, you're coming home every week. So I started driving back and forth between LA and Phoenix every week.
Wait,
yeah.
What? How long is that drive?
It's like 6.5 hours if there's no traffic. So it was more like coming home on a Friday night. It would be anywhere from like 8 to 10 hours. She loved it because when I would roll into Phoenix, I'd come in just in time to pick her up from the bar. So she loved it. It was great for her.
That's
I
amazing.
was her sober ride home before there was Uber.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so when I got that job at Level 1 Entertainment, it was as the CEO's assistant. And then I worked my way up to development exec. So basically it was like, I didn't come to LA with any real connections. I didn't know anyone. My parents didn't know anyone. Like I come from like a pretty middle class family. So like, it was like I had the money that I saved in my bank account and I knew no one, and I came out here and figured it out. And, basically that was the first job I could get my hands on, And so it wasn't so much that like, when I left that job that I decided to become a filmmaker. I was a filmmaker who took a pivot down the road in development for 5 years, so that I could get my foothold in the business.
Hell yeah. Well, that must have been so helpful in being in development, then becoming a filmmaker. Like, I know how all of this works and can use that so much to your advantage.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you know, I don't know if this is confidential or not, but like you and I have been talking about a project for a few months, and like, and you know, I use my development skills to work with a writer that we both like on it, and I think this script came in pretty nicely, you know, so like. I definitely learned a lot of chops at that job that have helped me in my producing side of things and also in my directing side of things. And then I think just as a writer, being very aware of what people like and don't like and how things need to read and flow. Like, just, I was reading so many scripts. Like,
oh yeah.
It's just the best way to get better at writing is to see what you think and like what works on the page. So it was a great, like, period of my early career just because it allowed me to understand the film industry from, you know, one side of the table, and then quietly at night I was writing away, and eventually, you know, that started to carry my career forward.
So you'd mentioned kind of like how you and Mick were shopping around Nightmare Cinema as like a TV series originally, and then eventually in 2018 it actually got made into a movie, which is amazing. So how did that feel like? Because it feels almost like a full circle moment.
Yeah, it was the TV element was cool because, you know, we basically were just trying to shop Masters of Horror 2.0. We had an amazing list of directors that we basically had LOIs from. Letter of intent saying like we want to do the show, and like the list of filmmakers that had said yes was insane, and we met with all sorts of people around town. But the challenge with anthology historically is, you know, people don't think it makes money, so they are very afraid of doing it. And I think when they saw the list of filmmakers we had access to, the fear was, okay, like, we love a lot of these names. When we go to make the show, how many of them are actually going to be available? And are we going to end up with some of the names we're less excited about on this list? And so there was like a real, like, everyone was really excited about the prospect of it, but like we couldn't get anyone to really jump over the threshold. And that's when, you know, when I left and I wanted to kind of reboot it and retool it, the thought was, well, if we do it as, you know, 5 shorts with 5 filmmakers, maybe that could serve as a proof of concept to be like, yes, we can get the directors that we like, and we can, you know, and so that was kind of how, like, it shaped from TV to film.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I was on set, you know, the first day, and I saw the production trucks and all the cars and stuff, like, that was a real powerful moment because it was like, wow, it went from literally a conversation I had with Mick in a conference room to like something that was employing hundreds of people. It was pretty special.
My favorite short from that, by the way, is The Thing in the Woods by Alejandro. That is my favorite. That one, I remember sitting down, I got a screener of it, and I was sitting down to watch, and I was like, this is fucking nuts. I love it so much.
Yeah. It honestly, it was like the perfect way to kick off the movie.
It really was.
Yeah. It's so much fun. And it was really fun making that short too. It was like being at summer camp for a week.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, it really was. Like, we were out in the woods, at this place that like rents them. It's like basically like a camp lodge that they lend out for shooting. But the cell phone signal doesn't work there. There's no cell phone signal. So we literally were like forced to talk to each other, which was, you know, it's like normally when you go on a movie set, you see like everyone's on their iPhone and they're just swiping and scrolling and emailing and texting, but no, like none of that was happening. It was like, oh, like we're actually gonna like, you know, be out here and be present with each other. It was kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie.
That's amazing.
It also sounds like the start of a horror movie.
A little bit, yeah.
It does also sound a little bit like the start of a horror movie.
One other thing that's kind of interesting about that short, which is kind of fun if you go watch it again, is in the actual cabin we weren't allowed to get any blood in it. So, if you go back and you look, like, everything is very carefully staged so that there's no blood. And then, whatever blood elements you are seeing are actually things that assets we shot later and were, like, VFX'd in. It's pretty wild. So, it was a tough one.
My God.
It was fun. Yeah.
The creativity of indie filmmaking right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good Lord. But you were talking about, like, employing hundreds of people and, like, being on a film set. That kind of leads to talking about something that you've been working on a lot recently, which is you are a strike leader or a strike captain for the WGA strike, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm a strike captain.
Strike captain.
Yes, that is the term. I'm a member of the Writers Guild of America, and as we record this, we are in our 5th week of a strike against the AMPTP, which is the association that represents all of the major studios and producers in town. It's been an interesting month.
Yeah, I can imagine. How's it going? What's it like? Yeah, I just like how I see all the pictures and all the amazing signs, but like, what has that experience been like? This whole thing.
Well, the signs have been kind of fun. People seem to be enjoying the ones that I'm putting out into the world, which is
I saw the ones today with the Umbrella Corp, and I love that. I love your Stars shirt.
Thanks, man. I'm literally wearing a Stars Raccoon City shirt. It was.
Yeah.
It was I couldn't go to the lot they were doing this at because I'm as a captain, I'm associated specifically with the CBS Television City lot by the Grove in LA.
Oh, okay.
So they were doing it, I think, at Universal, but they were doing like a video game day. So it was like come dress as like a video game character and whatnot. And so I had this shirt and I thought it would be funny. Since Umbrella is an evil corporation and
you sure are.
There are definitely some evil corporations that we're striking right now. So yeah. So yeah, it's been but it's been fun. I've kind of described it to people as weirdly, I'm going to circle back to this, but like shitty summer camp.
Yeah,
it's we're outside, we're in the sun, we're all wearing the same shirts, we're meeting new people, we're doing some chanting, We're doing some arts and crafts, making the signs. We're getting light exercise. It's shitty summer camp.
Yeah, wow, it really is shitty summer camp, huh?
It's shitty summer camp. But I will tell you, I've gotten to meet some amazing writers over the last few weeks. And being a regular at the lot allows them to be like, oh, I've seen that guy a couple times. Like he's a lead, he's a leader here. Like I should talk to him. So like I feel like that gives me like an air of, I don't know, consistency with the membership. So like yeah, and it makes it just easier to strike up a conversation. So it's been good. I've made friends. I'm making friends.
It is
not the best reason to make friends, but it's awesome.
Like, literally, we had a long weekend, and one of the friends I made on the line, he and I were like, we didn't get to talk a lot this weekend. This week. We should hang out this weekend. And so my wife and I hung out with them over the weekend, even though I see these people every day.
That's amazing.
But that's so nice. It's like making friends, but also you're standing up against a terrible, well, not just a terrible, many terrible corporations. And like, and are you involved at all, like with negotiations? Like, how are you, are you?
No. I'm not on the negotiating committee. So basically the way it works is, all of our leadership in the guild are writers. We vote them into power. And there is a whole negotiating committee and board members that are essentially handling the negotiations with the AMPTP.
Yeah.
But we aren't currently negotiating with them right now. Or at least we're not talking to them right now. You could argue that we are negotiating by being on strike and picketing. And that is what we're doing. We're withholding our services, and that's how we're negotiating right now.
Right.
So we've been causing them a lot of trouble over the last few weeks. We've been able to shut down a lot of productions, a lot of film and TV productions, which is, costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. We've been able to rally public support and get, people like David Zaslav booed at commencement speeches and
hell yeah.
So it feels like we're winning the PR fight. It feels like we're actually really financially causing them a lot of harm this time because, in 2007, which I wasn't out here for that strike, but my understanding is we were not able to shut down productions that time. This time we are.
Okay.
So we're actively, hurting their bottom line. So it's different this time. It's a real different, just the battlefield feels different. And then I've learned just a lot about the politics of picketing, like what we can do and what we can't do.
Oh.
That's the thing to me that's wild, like the different, like such like minute rules and everything. Like
there's a lot of rules. Yeah, no, like we have to keep our chanting and music playing and such at like a certain decibel volume or they can like get us in trouble, We have to follow traffic laws. So like, if the light changes, we have to stop marching and let cars pass through. Like, and then there's this whole the big to do is the studios can have this thing called a neutral gate. I'm doing air quotes over neutral gate. And the thing with neutral gate, sorry, this is so boring, probably for your
it's fascinating.
Very interested.
I realize like this is like what excites me now is talking about neutral gate and labor laws. It's like this weird carve out in labor laws that studios can use to basically have a gate that they're like, okay, this is for like water bottle deliveries and food deliveries and UPS.
Okay.
The problem is, we know that they're using it for production purposes. So what we've been doing is we station writers outside of these neutral gates. And I have like so many photos of trucks on my phone right now that I need to dump into their Dropbox. But like we take photos of the trucks as they go in and out of the studio and we give it to the Writers Guild legal department. And, if we can prove that the gate is being used for production purposes, then it becomes tainted and we can picket it.
Oh.
So the exciting news
it's so like espionage-y in a weird way.
Yeah, it is.
It reminds me a little bit of like medieval times when like, you'd have a castle surrounded and we'll let humanitarian aid in, but that's all that we're letting in.
That's why it's like weirdly like excites me. So I got out of a movie screening for an upcoming postmortem episode, and I got a text from our gate captain, our gate coordinator. I'm the assistant gate coordinator. And he said, we broke it. We broke one of the neutral gates. And it was like the most exciting text message.
It's like Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh man.
We broke the neutral gate.
They were so pissed when we showed up with our picket signs to the neutral gate. So, but what we did to break the gate was we surprised them. We sent writers at 5:00 in the morning to observe the neutral gate. And we caught all these people on the Young and the Restless soap opera coming in and out of the gate.
No.
And that was it. That was the and they were
that is amazing.
They were like, you're not supposed to be here. And we're like, we're neutral observers. We can be here whenever we want.
That's fucking incredible. Wait, this is badass. Like, that is some badass behavior. Like, figuring out what time to go and catching them. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, terrible that this has to be done, and it's and it's like absolutely horrendous. But I also like see how hard these writers are fighting to get just like, but also see how hard the studios are fighting to not pay people like proper wages. Like, is it what? It's just baffling.
They've lost more money collectively in the 4 weeks of the strike than it would have taken to pay us.
Of course.
So it's like, it's just so, they're so obsessed with giving us the worst deal they possibly can that they'll literally just hemorrhage money to do it. It's disturbing. But, look, we're fighting like the biggest, most powerful companies in the world. And right now we're winning. So, we're going to take them fucking down, man. You know?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So for people that either aren't in like LA or the places where this is happening or aren't part of the WGA, what can like the rest of us do to help?
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously just like, if you're on social media, like tweeting at the studios, you know, posting in support of the writers, telling them you want them to make us a fair deal. Obviously that helps a lot. You know, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to boycott this or that or that. That doesn't necessarily like have a huge effect unless it's like a mass boycott, and like organizing that against any one of these services is going to be really challenging. We've cut off their supply of future scripts. And that, in the long run, it might take a few weeks, but it will have a greater effect, a greater impact. But there are a lot of things that people are doing. Like, one woman on Twitter has set up a fund where people can put money in, and she's buying different writers pizza every day.
Oh,
you know, like, so you can donate that way. There's the WGA has a website. If you just Google like WGA strike.org, it'll come up, and on there you can there's like places you can make donations to different funds and things like that. That's something you could do. You know, but like, anything helps, you know, like, and even if it's just, and if you are local, if you just want to come and pick up a picket sign and walk with us, you're welcome to too, you know? So but it's been really, you know, even down to just honking your horn makes a big difference, you know, just knowing that we're seen and heard, keeps the morale up.
Hell yeah. And listeners, we'll put all of these resources in the show notes so you can see all that stuff and see how you can support, because this is important.
Yeah. Yeah. We want more content.
We do.
Yeah.
We love content. Personally, I love content, so.
Yes.
My biggest thing is, I remember back when this happened, it's not the first time, but when this happened back, when was it? The first time for us,
when we were cognizant of it, yes. Yeah, 2007.
Yeah, and I just remember because 30 Rock had less episodes that season because of the strike. 30 Rock always comes up with me. It's like a personality for me almost.
It's a great
show. It is a great show, and I just remember season 2 is always a lot shorter than the rest because of what was going on at the time.
Yeah. I mean, the big one for me was Entourage. I remember that got super cut short. I mean, and that's gonna happen again. Like, they're holding Stranger Things back until this is over.
Right. Yeah, they are.
It's like those kids are going to be like 45 by the time the show ends.
I know.
They are.
It's going to be worse than, like, you know, the Scream era high school kids. You know, like,
oh my god,
it's so bad. But you know, Look, I think, but these are the things that we have to do to kind of force them back to the table. Like, eventually, Netflix shareholders are going to be like, what the fuck? Like, that's our cash cow.
Yep.
That's how we fight. That's how we, you know, if we can withhold these things, it sucks, and it sucks for the public to have these things withheld, but that's where the public needs to, like, show their support, is be like,
exactly,
Netflix, I want my Stranger Things, you know?
Yeah. I want my Stranger Things.
We want our Stranger Things.
Just like, kind of, we're changing the subject from the strike to kind of back to your own personal. It's like not a very easy transition, but I want to hear like your horror history, Joe. Like, how did you get introduced to horror in the genre?
Weirdly, through a lot of just gateway horror when I was a kid.
Okay.
So my parents were very big into the holiday of Halloween.
Okay.
And before I was born, actually, they used to, like, throw a haunted house. They'd, like, build one for Halloween, you know, like, go all in.
So cool.
Oh, cool.
They stopped doing it because someone in the neighborhood accused them of putting a razor blade in their candy.
Oh,
so, like, the police showed up. It was a thing. Yeah, it was that whole, like, 80s urban legend.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Uh-huh. And so they stopped, but, you know, like, my dad had all these, like, great masks and things, like, left over from it. So, like, we'd had all these wonderful decorations. So, it was instilled in me really, like, at a young age. Like, my favorite movie of all time is Ghostbusters. So, like, I fell in love with it through that. Like, the Haunted Mansion at Disney World, The Adventures of Ichabod Crane. Like, I grew up, in Connecticut, just outside of New York. So, like, we went to Sleepy Hollow when I was a kid. So, like, all of these things kind of, just built up with, like, this general interest in the space. But it wasn't really until I started going to a friend's house who was allowed to watch anything he wanted. And we'll talk about...
God bless those people.
Oh, yeah, God bless them. Absolutely. And that's where I started seeing R-rated movies and going like, oh, wow, like, there's a lot more to this than, Hocus Pocus and Ghostbusters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's always fun when you're a kid and you see that threshold. Like, you're used to growing up with one thing, and then you realize that there's this whole other world out there, and it's like, I want to see that, but it's also horrifying.
Yeah. No, and so basically from there, it was like, once I got exposed to that stuff, and then, like, once I was, like, officially allowed to start watching R-rated content, it was like horror grew up with me, and I happened to come of age, like, my teenage years were very much the Scream years, Yep. There was a great horror renaissance happening. Scream had so many great references to movies. It was basically like, it was like a Rosetta Stone to, like, going back and finding cool movies, like, oh, what's the movie where E.T.'s mom and and the dog, right? Or the werewolf, the Howling, like, right? Like, or both of them, Cujo, right? So it's,
Cujo too.
It's like suddenly you found both of those titles, right? Then thank you, Scream, right? So, so Scream was like this weird Rosetta Stone for me to, like, go back and find all these horror movies that I had not had the chance to see. As I became more interested in the genre and just found more and more and more, to consume, it was, I got a job at Hollywood Video. I worked at a video store. I might be, like, the last generation to do that.
That's a little unfortunate, actually. I
know, and it does feel like it's like a lost thing. Yeah, no, I do miss.
I don't get nostalgic about a lot, but I do miss video stores. There's something primal about going in there, just looking at whatever's here, and you picking some movies.
Well, and the problem too is eventually the aisle ends, right? The problem with Netflix and Hulu is you just can keep swiping forever.
Yes.
And literally until you die, you can keep swiping. But like, at least, like, the video store had a finite amount of space.
They sure did.
But yeah, my first year in college, or second year in college, when I was doing the video store thing, I was in a long distance relationship with my ex. And so I had plenty of time on my hands, so I would just take home the 3 free movies I could rent from Hollywood Video, and I'd watch them and bring them back, and I just, like, mainlined horror movies at that point.
Oh yeah. I have to ask, because we've had a couple people on the show that have worked at a Hollywood Video. Did you have to wear a suit?
It wasn't a suit. It was like a purple button-up shirt. It was hideous, and black pants. It was a horrible outfit.
I'm starting to think that our franchise owners were the only ones that did this, because you would walk into Hollywood Video and everyone was wearing basically almost like a suit, a complete suit.
Oh, wow.
Working there.
Oh my God.
So I always have to ask, because I'm curious, because it was always weird when I would walk in there and everyone would be like stuffily dressed.
It's possible that it was an earlier iteration thing. I mean, I probably worked at Hollywood Video around, I want to say, like 04 to 06. So, like, it's I don't know if like before that was maybe the requirement or not, but because we didn't have any in my home, we had a mom and pop shop in my hometown, so, like, it wasn't but yeah, no, it was interesting. We could only watch during the day. We could only put on PG movies, and Napoleon Dynamite had come out. And it was PG. It's a PG movie.
Oh, it is.
So basically, we just played that movie on loop for like a year. I couldn't watch it for a really long time because, like, I love that movie. I saw it 4 times in the theater. But, like, when you watch it that many times while working, it's like you just can't do it for a long time. So I had a long break. But when I returned to it during the pandemic, I was like, oh, this movie still fucking rocks.
I haven't watched that movie in so long, but I love that movie. That movie is ridiculous.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Napoleon Dynamite? Oh my God.
It's super fun.
It's
so
the
yeah,
best.
more things that your audience wants to hear about. Napoleon Dynamite and
well, that's what I want to hear about.
No, I'll tell you one last Hollywood video story if you want to hear. You want to hear about how I quit?
I would love to hear about how you quit.
All right, it's a good story. So
hell yeah.
So it was a Saturday night shift, which we were right by Arizona State, so it was like we were like the busiest Hollywood video in the area, you know?
Okay.
And we had just gotten this like new manager who had started like, I don't know, a month before. At the time, I was writing movie reviews for a website I had started with some friends and a college magazine, which actually allowed us to become accredited film critics, which is like a whole other side part of my history.
Wow.
And yeah, I know, surprise. Mary Beth is like, wait, what?
You're a good writer, but I mean, now it's all making sense now.
That's why all my puns on social media are pretty spot on. No, I got my other degrees in journalism, and I got a degree in media analysis and criticism. Hell
yeah.
There was no film program when I got to ASU, so that was my way in. Anyway, we had flyers that we would put out at Hollywood Video for the website, and our previous manager had like no issue with it. He loved it. He thought it was like super fun that like we were connecting with our base in that way and that they were reading our reviews. And this new manager did not like it. And I had literally like spent, I don't know, $50 printing out like a bunch of color flyers. And when I came in for my shift that day, I noticed that they weren't on the counter. And I was like, oh, where did the flyers go? And he's like, oh, I threw them out. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't care that, I don't care that you don't want them out, but just give them back to me. You threw them out.
Right.
I was like, that literally like costs like me pretty much the amount of money I'll make tonight to do that. And he was like, he kind of just like shrugged and was like, whatever. And it just, my blood boiled. So I took my badge off and I tossed it over at him and I was like, good luck. And I walked out the door.
That's amazing.
And I fucked off out of there and left him alone on a Saturday night.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yes. So what you're saying is you have been sticking it to the man for a long time and will not be taking...
I guess so. I'm just like so anti-authoritarian. No, I knew... I had been studying to get my my personal training certificate at that point, so like I knew I had like a new job in the works, so I was probably going to quit within like a month or two of that anyway, but it still felt real good.
I bet.
You want to flick your name tag at him like that and just being able to be like, fuck you. That is like a movie moment. Not everyone gets a good moment like that.
Yeah, it kind of felt like it. Like I literally tossed the thing at him and walked out.
Flick the match, turn around, walk while it explodes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Hell yeah.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of walls of explosions.
Yeah. Wow. It's almost like you're a podcaster and then you know how to transit.
When you pick up some scratches, cause you want a fun break, the playful way you scratch is the next choice you should make. You can make your dog's leg kick and scratch with that. You could even grab a laser pointer and use your cap. You can build yourself a homemade scratching machine or use a piece from your chest set. Go ahead, grab the queen. Scratch like a DJ with your record player. A cactus could scratch off that scratchable layer. Cause when it comes to scratching, there's a million playful ways. Thanks to scratchers from the California Lottery, a little play can make your day.
Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Well then, Joe, what movie did you bring with you today for us to discuss?
Well, I brought one of the movies that I saw at my friend Jared's house at a sleepover that terrified me, that scarred me for life. It is a little movie called Predator.
Predator! The original 1987 Predator. And in this film, a team of commandos on a mission in a Central American jungle find themselves hunted by an extraterrestrial warrior.
They sure do. Okay, so you kind of led a little bit with this that you saw it at a friend's house. So can you tell us your horror story? How old were you? How did you see this? Give us all the details.
Yeah. Well, so some context. I saw this after Predator 2 had to come out.
Okay.
And spoilers for those of you who have not seen Predator 2, but at the end of Predator 2, you see the alien skull in the Predator ship, which gave birth to the Alien vs. Predator sub-franchise. So it was a very, talked about movie on the playground. And all I knew going into seeing Predator was at Disney World, at the MGM Studios, there was a moment where the alien popped out in this MGM studio tour ride. All I knew was my father said Alien was one of the scariest movies he'd ever seen, right? So I know Alien's one of the scariest movies ever. And they're like, hey, do you want to watch the movie with the thing that can kill the alien?
Oh my God.
You're like...
And I was like,
yes.
I guess so.
I
think.
So you hadn't seen Alien at this point,
no,
though, right?
I had not seen Alien
series?
at this point. So I was, but all I knew was this thing was stronger than the alien, and the alien scared my father, right? So this is my context going into this sleepover, this movie, right? I was primed for being terrified. And I think the movie, yes, as an adult, I recognize that it is a beloved action classic, but it is also, and we'll talk about this, it's a slasher movie. It's a slasher movie with the most muscular final girl. There is.
My God.
Dutch is a final girl.
Dutch is a final girl.
Oh my God.
I want that on a shirt. I want that so badly on a shirt. Dutch is a final girl.
Dutch is a final girl. Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of the only actors I think that has played the slasher and a final girl.
True.
Because in Terminator, he's a slasher, right?
He is.
Predator, he's the final girl.
Holy shit.
So, that is amazing.
Holy shit.
So that's why I was I hope you guys will be okay with talking about this movie on your horror podcast, because I know it's sci-fi action, but I also think it is
we don't. We've talked about the craziest shit on this podcast that is not even remotely horror, so do not worry.
Someone brought If These Walls Could Talk, the story about abortion. That was...
Yeah. For sure. It's a monster movie, it's a slasher movie, that's but the other thing that I did not know going into seeing the movie, which I think is why this movie scarred me so much, was one of the movies that my dad and I loved watching, and I was addicted to at that point, was the Rocky movies. I love Rocky. I adore the franchise, I adore the character. I love Sylvester Stallone to the ends of the earth. My dad and I would even get out boxing gloves and box after the movie and stuff. It was super fun. It was a fun moment in our relationship. But Carl Weathers, he's the guy who really gives Rocky a run for his money. I mean, they beat each other within an inch of their life. And if Rocky is this Superman who can get beat up that bad, when I saw Carl Weathers get his arm cut off by the Predator, that is the moment I was scarred for life.
Oh no!
That's amazing.
So wait, how old were you when you saw this movie?
I was probably 8 to 10, I would say.
Okay.
That's
all right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, but yeah. So you got to remember, the context is this thing is scarier than the alien, which is the scariest thing to my dad. And Carl Weathers, who I love from the Rocky movies, gets butchered by this thing. So yeah, this movie fucked me up.
So how did you react? Because you're with your friends. So what is the reaction at this point? Do you show it? Do you bottle it up? What happened?
Oh, I think it was bottled up. I think I was just sitting there in raw terror, like waiting to figure out how the fuck they're going to kill this thing. Because if Apollo Creed can't stop the Predator,
Apollo Creed can't
right?
do it.
What is going to stop the Predator? Now, I had very limited, experience with Arnold Schwarzenegger at this point. So it was. Because Arnold didn't really have like a Rocky family-friendly franchise at that point. Maybe Kindergarten Cop had come out. I don't know. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and like look at the IMDb thingamajig. So to me, I didn't know that he was going to be able to go toe to toe with this monster.
Right.
And so when it happened, I was completely on edge and exhilarated by every second of the rest of that movie. And I think I probably just sat there completely like still and silent, like taking it all in, but the next day we were in his backyard playing Predator and Commandos and like, running around and, taking turns shooting each other with fake guns. So it went very quickly from sheer terror to like adrenaline fueled bliss, right? Which is what I think why most people like horror movies to begin with. Like it's the safety, it's the come down of getting off the crazy roller coaster. You survived, and that high that you have can linger.
Yeah.
That movie gave that to me probably the first time that I can genuinely remember that happening.
That is amazing. So what you're saying though also kind of reminds me of when I first saw this, because this one didn't scare me for some reason. Like I had been like a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. My dad loved fantasy, so I'd seen Conan the Destroyer, Conan the Barbarian. I'd seen all of those. I had seen Commando.
That's like that's a different context. I feel like if I had that
exactly
going in, I might have had a different experience with the movie.
Right. Whereas like I've never seen Rocky, so the fact that Apollo is in this didn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I just knew, oh, this is Arnold. He beats everyone up. He's gonna win the day.
Yeah.
And I just remember you talked about playing afterwards. My parents hated this movie for me because I think we were still in Alaska. I'm fairly certain I was still living in Alaska when I saw this. I would have been probably 9 or 10 whenever it came out on VHS. And I remember building a trench we lived up against like a forest, and there was like this hill, and I built a trench and I filled it up with water and I made it muddy, and then I dove in there and covered myself with mud because I wouldn't be killed by the Predator that way. And so I was dragging myself through my parents' backyard just soaked in mud.
Oh my god.
And my parents were like, what the hell are you doing? They were so angry at me.
Wait, so
it's because of this movie, because I was like, this is how.
So you had seen Predator and were doing that. It wasn't, you had already seen it? And you're
okay. No, I'd seen it. Yeah. No, I remember to watch this movie and thinking that it was kind of boring for the first half and then really exciting for the last half. Was my memory of this film.
Oh my god.
I would drag myself through the mud and cover it on because
Now see, if I was a parent and my child was running around covering himself in mud, I would hate this movie too.
Yeah. Seriously. And the thing is because like I would always take lists. I would always make a list of things like, this is how you kill Freddy, this is how you kill the werewolf. I would have all these lists. And it's like, if I go up against a Predator, I need to be able to cover myself in mud.
Yeah.
And so in my mind it made perfect sense. And so I would play around in the mud and just kick myself in it.
How very Monster Squad of you.
I know. Oh my god, that was a favorite movie of mine as a kid.
Yes.
Movie.
That's another gateway horror movie for me too. I think that was the thing. And then, obviously came the day when I had to face watching Alien, which was also kind of like, oh my god, if Predator scared me this much, like what's Alien gonna do to me? But I crossed
what did it do to you?
It fucking terrified me. No, but I love Alien, you know what I mean? Like, and I love Aliens, but yeah, I lived in like perpetual fear, during like the early 90s because of those movies and those filmmakers. But like one thing that haunted me too, and I was debating about whether or not, to do Predator or this, but like, another franchise that I also consider a slasher, which I already tipped my hand, is Terminator. The first two Terminator movies are absolutely slasher movies.
Yes, they totally are.
Yeah, the first one more so, but like both of them. And when I saw Terminator 2 and, you know, the world was going to end on August 27th, 1997, I lived in perpetual fear that the nuclear apocalypse was coming. So, you know, I just had a lot of anxiety as a child, apparently.
I was going to say, so, like, were you easily scared as a child? Like, were you scared a lot by these movies and, like, by horror movies or any kind of, like, that stuff in general?
I still get scared by horror movies, you know?
Hell
like,
yeah, cool.
I mean, I went and saw The Boogeyman a couple weeks ago, and there's one jump scare in the movie that I literally leaped out of my fucking chair. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, so I still get, like, a good horror movie, if it can still suck me in and scare the shit out of me. But I think that's also why, like, I maybe, you know, well versed at, like, crafting scares on the page and crafting them on the screen is I know what scares me. I have a good understanding of what scares me, and, like, hopefully that translates to other people too. You know, I think it's like, even though I was maybe like and maybe still am a scaredy cat, the fact that, like, I can face it, watch it, be scared, grow to love it, and then distill that emotion and put it out on the page or on the screen, I think I think that's why it served me well over the years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, we've talked about Alien on the podcast before, because that was one of my Scarred for Life moments. But I had a very similar reaction to that movie as you had to Predator. But, like, I had no idea what an Alien movie was. All I'd seen was, like, the 1950s aliens, that kind of stuff. And so when you sit down and you watch this movie and there's no flying saucer and it has, like, a thing bursting out someone's chest, it was like, no, I'm done. I'm out of this. So if I had known that, like, Predator, because at that point I didn't. If I had known that Predator, could kill one of these aliens, I probably would have been in the same boat as you, because the aliens terrified the shit out of me.
Yeah. No, I think it was just, like, the perfect confluence of setup for me. But I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I love the movie dearly. Like, it's wild for me to think that John McTiernan made this before Die Hard, because it seems like such a much more complicated movie to have made.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is, like, before Die Hard, and it's so well done. Like, he really is, like, one of our like, underrated, underappreciated master filmmakers who we, like, it sucks that he's not making movies anymore. Like, it's really, like, we lost a good one when he kind of backed away because of his tax issues. But, you know, I mean, seriously though, I mean, it's like, what a run. Like, I mean,
yeah,
Die Hard and Predator and Hunt for Red October. Yeah.
God, I don't think I realized
Action Hero.
Like, he really did have an incredible, like, action run.
Yeah,
wow.
No, he was like one of our best. So I say like he's dead, he's not, but he's someone that I kind of wish was still making movies, because he really, honestly, like, with Predator and Die Hard, he really, like, set, like, templates for what those, you know, future action movies and sci-fi action movies could and should be.
It's also wild to me that this movie came out around the same time as Aliens, because Aliens came out, I think, in 86. And so the fact that we get that 1-2 punch of action sci-fi in the 80s is, like, perfect. What a perfect 1-2 punch.
Yeah, absolutely. And Aliens is another, like, wonderfully perfect movie too, and also really scary.
Yeah,
Aliens is also really scary. So yeah, I'm a big scaredy cat. That's what we've learned on Scarred for Life.
Hell yeah. No, but I love that, because I feel like with horror filmmakers, it's so easy to get jaded of being scared of things. So it's nice.
I don't know why there's so many fellow horror filmmakers who are like, oh, that didn't scare me, and blah 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 blah. Like, I'm like, no, I want to go be scared. I want to get sucked in.
Me too.
Oh, the worst is when they're like, I hate jump scares. I'm like, I love jump scares. I'm like, I want to go to the movie theater and, like, jump around like a jumping bean. Like, I don't want to be sat in my seat bored, you know? Like,
yeah.
Make me fucking jump, and I will love your movie.
Exactly.
I love good jump scares. I love good jump scares.
Yeah. Honestly, even a cheap jump scare will make me laugh afterwards too. You know what I mean? Like, so it's I guess that's what I mean. It's like, I want to go feel visceral emotions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not someone who gets, like, mad that they physically got me. I feel like genuinely.
Oh yeah, never. I'm always like, well played. fucking played.
Yeah.
Oh, you got me with the fucking cat again. You got me with the cat again.
Cat.
Like
always with the fucking cats. Always with the fucking cats.
Yeah.
So, Mary Beth, when did you first see this movie? I'm curious.
So, I first saw this movie, my dad showed it to me. It was like, I think we did a double feature. So I saw my dad on the weekends, because child of divorce, etc. And he would rent, we would always rent horror movies. And I think we did an Alien one weekend and Predator the next, because Alien versus Predator was coming out and he wanted me to be caught up with everything. So he wanted to make sure I knew what these movies were. Nice. And so I cannot remember which one we watched first for the life of me. I cannot remember which one we watched first. I do remember liking Alien better because I liked outer space stuff and the monster. Yeah. And I also think there was just way too many very sweaty, muscly men rolling around in the woods together. And I think I was a little bit, as a young child, not quite understanding what was going, it's so homoerotic now when you watch it. I'm sorry. It's just the sweat beads dripping down people's chests and everyone's muscles are out and everyone is just so wet and damp and it's just
in their defense, they were in 100-degree weather. It wasn't
absolutely. But it sat there and they made them look so wet. And they're all so naked. Not naked, but bare. And it was just, I think I was just what the hell is
the
going
workout
on?
routine they were doing was insane. They were getting up, running an hour in the morning, lifting weights, shooting all day, running for another hour, lifting weights, eating dinner, go to bed. So there was a reason.
They were in boot camp. They were in boot camp.
Yeah, they totally were.
Oh my God. I could not. Arnold's arms. I couldn't. I know. I felt I was I'm no better than a man objectifying these male bodies. I'm just everyone is just very muscular and it's very hard to not look at it. But when I first saw this, I had a similar reaction of being what is this was another war movie my dad is showing me? But then it kicks up with we get the heat vision, but it doesn't kick in for almost an hour into the movies when we really see our Predator.
That's one of the things that fascinates me about the movie. It's I really do enjoy a good movie that pivots like that. It feels like it's going to be one thing and it becomes another. But I think that first third of the movie is super important because, it's basically saying these guys are the best of the best. They can kill human beings better than anyone can kill human beings. So that when the Predator starts taking them out so easily, one by one by one, you really do get that oh fuck, I thought they were the best. This thing's the best. You know what I mean? It really, it's pretty amazing. One thing about the title that I always thought was an interesting thing, because we started calling this creature the Predator, right? Based on, because of the title. But in the original marketing campaign, if you go back and you look at the movie, it was actually Arnold had to become the Predator to take this thing out. That was what the title originally was leaning towards. Arnold, Predator. And turning this thing into his prey, not the other way around. But it's just a funny pop culture misnomer. It's kind of like Frankenstein's monster, we call it Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, just a small little tidbit.
Wait, so do they ever give a name to the thing, to the Predator?
Do we ever get no?
Right.
Not in the movie.
No, we don't get any explanation like that, and I love it for it.
Me too.
Absolutely. That's what I love, movies like that, where it's just we have maybe a shot of it, again, a space, what the opening scene is a spaceship going somewhere, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I love that. And you just you just get to know them, the technology, and it's just you learn it, you're learning with the people, and you don't get anything else. You just know that this thing is big and scary and has some acid blood, green drippy blood, and is really strong.
Honestly, the that's one of the things that bothers me about a lot of modern day genre filmmaking is executives are constantly asking us to explain more. What is the law? What are the rules? Yep. How does this work? Why does it work? And it's like, okay, I understand you want to know those things because you want to be able to tell your boss when they watch the movie and ask you this question. But like, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the movie. And sometimes it leaves you with, like, you can develop your own headcanon with it, you know? And, which I think was like why it was so fun when Predator 2 had the alien skull in their ship. It was like, oh my God, never in my wildest dreams would I have, you know, like, but if they had like outlined a bunch of rules at the beginning of the first movie, could they have done that still? I don't know. You know, like, but it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, if we over explain horror, I think it becomes, if you can understand what's happening too much, it's not fun anymore.
No, exactly. And actually I kind of wish they didn't start with in space and they just left it. Yeah. Like when I was rewatching it last night, I was like, ooh, I kind of, if I was doing this, I kind of would just cut that off and not have that and not give anyone any indication that there's something supernatural or something extraterrestrial hunting them. Because for the most part in the beginning, it's just, you know, men going on a rescue mission to save people. And you start to see little things that are weird, like that. And there's so that dramatic irony where it's like, oh, we know that there's something in the forest with them, but they don't. Where you see like the bodies that have been skinned and everything. But like, I do love that it is sort of, we don't know what this is. We're learning as these people are learning and being killed off. Yeah. And I love that in a movie, that kind of mystery. And as you said, when it ends, you know nothing more. You know nothing about this creature.
We just know that Arnold basically survived like within an inch of his life, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, that's why that climax is so thrilling. The thing that I always seem to forget when I watch the movie, especially because that climax is so intense, is when it fades to black and then it fades up on sitcom credits.
Oh my gosh, I saw you tweeting about this last night and I literally made a note.
Telling me about this. I was dying.
I always forget that, like, it's like, and then like the funniest part about this, like other than the fact that it just exists in general, is like clearly they shot footage for this. They shot them like all of the actors winking at the camera or like toasting with a flask. And then it cuts to Arnold and it's just a clip from the movie. Like why didn't they get him to do that? Like, he was like, if you saw the behind the scenes photos of him on this movie, he's having a fucking ball. He's got like women draped all over him. He's got a cigar in every freaking photo. Like he's having a ball making this movie. Where's his funny little end credit thing?
Oh my God.
I don't know. Anyway.
I literally want someone to like cut that to like Full House music or something.
It's there. It's like on the internet. People were tweeting at me all night. Like,
oh really?
Like, oh, yeah, no, there's a bunch of them. There's Cheers. There's Full House. There's Friends. It's great. There's so much good content. Like I really encourage people to go find it because it's like, God bless the internet sometimes.
Yeah. That's hilarious because that literally I'm watching it and it ends with the sad trumpet playing and they're, you know, riding off into the darkness and I'm like, that's a good ending. And then all of a sudden it's like, cheers. It's so funny. It's so funny to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like the 80s though.
Yeah. Well, and like, it's also very 80s to have Arnold at the end, like pose like this, like America, fuck yeah. Even though Arnold is not American. I'm like, America, fuck yeah with Arnold, but Arnold is so obviously not like American, but he's
very adopted American, yeah.
Because he's so, it's like that hyper mask thing, especially of like Reagan era. I'm getting political here with the Reagan era politics of this time. Like this movie is dripping in that hyper masculinity because and dripping is being used purposefully here. Well, and again, like they're going to get the gorillas in the Central America. Like it has that such that 80s vibe of like hyper masculine figures going to save people and like ultimately winning. And again, it's still bleak in the fact that, you know, his entire squad gets absolutely decimated. But that when he's just posing when the helicopter arrives after you see like the mushroom cloud in the back, it's just like,
I know, hands on his hips. Yeah. It's beautiful.
What I do love though, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, but like I do think, because I remember thinking about this movie again when Prey came out last year and everyone was all up in arms about, not everyone, there was a certain contingent of the horror populace that was so up in arms that this young woman could go toe to toe with the Predator, or I don't even know what their name is that they gave to him post the movie.
Predator.
But anyway, but what I think is interesting is watching this now and watching this movie. It's not his strength that gets him in the end. In fact, all of these big beefy men are killed because they think that they're strong, they can kill anything. Yeah. But it's only because of setting up traps and trying to outsmart the creature at his own game that he's able to actually kill it. And that's the same thing that happens in Prey.
Yeah.
But it's not the fact that he's this big muscular guy. It's the fact that he managed to discover that mud, you know, he's learning with the alien and trying to figure out ways to outsmart the alien at his own game. And I think that that's something that is overlooked in this movie because it is filled with such huge bodybuilder physiques.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I just tell you, I absolutely loved and adored Prey. Like, it was one of my favorite movies from last year, and I was so freaking lucky. I got to see it in like one of the 2 or 3 theatrical screenings it had.
Oh, jealous.
Beyond Fest had 2 screenings, 2 of them. They had one in English, then one in the dubbed Comanche language, and it was hands down one of the best Beyond Fest screenings like I've ever been to. The crowd was insane. Like, I could not have seen that movie under better circumstances. I left like on a cinematic high. It was awesome, and I wish more people had gotten to see it that way, because that movie fucking rocked on the big screen.
I can fucking imagine.
I'm jealous. I would have loved to have seen it.
That movie fucking
would have loved to have
rules.
seen that.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So good.
It understands what Predator is about and is able to to redo it in a way that is fresh and unique. And I'm like, this is the kind of legacy sequel I want to see. Well, I guess it's technically a prequel, but
right. No, I know what you mean. The only thing I couldn't believe it missed was in the original Predator, I loved like when Billy kind of figured out what it was and what he was fighting, and he stops on the log to like turn around and face it, and he cuts his chest and he's gonna like go toe to toe with it. I wish there was some connective tissue to like, you know, the lore of the Native Americans, like passing it down, and like Billy. I don't know. There was something they could do there to like connect that moment to Prey, and I kind of wished it was there more so than like the gun from Predator 2.
The gun from 2. Yeah.
But whatever, it's not my movie to make. But I really did like it, and I thought it was other than me having my own headcanon, it was great.
This movie also has like a lot of really great one-liners that I just love.
Oh my God, yes.
It's just full of them. I mean, that's like true of like a lot of 80s movies. Everyone loved using those one-liners, and Arnold was kind of the king of saying them, right?
Yeah.
Like he just, I'll be back, or all of it. But you're one ugly motherfucker.
When he first takes off, when the Predator first takes off, like you have the mask and the reveal. I remember when I was younger being so excited
Which we love
by
a
that.
reveal.
I loved that. I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, it's really creepy. And I was like, that was very exciting to me. But yeah, you are one ugly motherfucker, just shaking his head. Get to the chopper. I mean,
Stick around's a good one.
I do have
when he's like killing all of them and giving quips, is he like off some of the people in the
Shane
camp?
Black's
It's just like,
got some amazing jokes. Jesse Ventura has some great ones. This movie has 2 governors in it, 2 United States governors. Let's not forget that.
Oh my God, it does! Wow.
Yeah. So it's a really special movie on so many levels.
It is certainly an action movie from the 80s, and I love that so much about this movie.
But it's also got sci-fi and it's got horror. It's like, it really is a movie that just like, it's the Venn diagram of my personality right there in the center.
I will also say though, remember how I was saying like, oh, it's so homoerotic and like all the men are very hot, but also, so last year at my birthday, they put on Predator. I barely watched it, but they put Predator on the TV. And all I could hear were a great deal of my female friends going, you know what? The Predator is really hot. And it has become now a joke to the point that my husband is drawing like fanfic of Predator for our friend because she talks about how hot the Predator is now, and now she's like drawing. I mean, look, he's ripped,
yeah.
and it's
the
just
Predator
very
for Prey.
I
Both
know.
in and out of costume.
That is funny. You know that design almost didn't make it in the movie, right? Like famously.
Oh really?
No,
I did not know
I don't
that.
think I did actually know that.
Yeah, no, there was a whole other design, and like even the shape of the creature was different. A lot of the design work that was originally going to be used and did not work and got thrown out actually ended up in Pumpkinhead. It had that, like, the legs in Pumpkinhead? They tried to do that in the jungle, and it did not work at all.
Wow.
So they shot...
I did know that they had Jean-Claude initially as the Predator.
Yeah, he was in this, like, red suit. He looked like a giant lobster running around in the trees. And basically what happened was they shot the whole movie, and they had cut a lot of it together, and the studio saw it, and they were like, this movie really works, except for this thing. So they gave them a bunch more money. Stan Winston came in and redesigned the entire creature. James Cameron gave him the idea for the mandibles, and away they went.
Whoa! I did not know that.
So good.
Yeah. So this movie almost did not work. This movie almost did not become part of popular culture. And also, I would just like to say that, like, if I had to add more Venn diagram circles on it, it's like, I said earlier I was a personal trainer, so it's like weightlifting goes in there. And then, like, also pro wrestling is another one of my hobbies. So it's like literally this movie has all of that stuff.
I was going to say,
it's
this
everything.
really is incredible convergence of all of your interests.
This is what I would call a Joe Russo movie. Like, describe your personality in one movie.
Predator.
Yeah.
So now that so the initial reason you were scared about this movie was because there was a creature that could kill the alien, which terrified your dad.
Yes.
Now that you've seen probably all of the Aliens and probably most, if not all, the Predator movies, who would win? I'm curious.
Oh, I still think Predator kills an alien.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think so. The alien creatures are very hard to kill, and they're very dangerous, obviously. But I mean, a predator is just going to keep poking and prodding and finding a way to kill you eventually, right? I mean, if I remember correctly, I feel like it's been a long time since I've watched the Alien versus Predator movies. I feel like the Predators are always kind of framed as the good guys to the aliens.
They are.
Right?
I watched the Alien versus Predator recently because I love Alien versus Predator. I love the movie. I don't care. It's great, but the Predators are always the good guy.
I'm a big Paul W.S. Anderson apologist. So,
I am the biggest Paul W.S. Anderson apologist. I love Paul W.S. Anderson with every fiber of my being. And that's one of the reasons why I love Alien vs. Predator.
That's I love you for that. I will go to the mat for Mortal Kombat and Event Horizon and Death Race. Anyway.
See, and I grew up with like getting into comic books because of Alien and Predator and AVP. Like somewhere in my house, I have like a whole run of those Alien versus Predator comics and the Alien comics and the Predator comics. They started making like books with Alien lore, and I think they did a couple that were crossovers that I would read constantly in the early 90s. But that was this movie and Alien are the reasons I got into enjoying comic books, was because I went to a comic book store and saw the Alien versus Predator and the Alien comics and Predator, and I just had to have them.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Comics came way before the movie did. Yeah, there's also a really great short film from like when I was like maybe late high school, early college, called Batman Dead End, where Batman is in like a dark alley with the Joker, and then like at the end of it, like predators show up. It's pretty awesome. I
love properties that just like add another property at the end, like a horror property, especially.
Well, they even did a Batman versus Predator series.
They did.
Did they really?
So it was a rip on that. Yeah.
That's fucking incredible.
It was a good short. I remember like it just blew my mind. So yeah, look, I if I had to rank the Predator movies, it would probably be Predator, Prey, and then Predator 2, and then the other ones kind of maybe on an equal footing. But I think there's more good Predator movies than there are Alien movies.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow. All right.
Really?
I honestly cannot have an opinion because I've only seen Predator 1, 2, and Predators.
Yeah.
Outside of like the AVP, the first one, which I didn't care for.
I mean, look,
Predator movies.
I've seen Prey.
Well, I mean, I guess there's the AVP movies, right? So that's 2 there. Predator 2, Predators, The Predator, and Prey.
The Predator, yeah.
There's a lot of these movies.
There are. Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I think, there's also the Prometheuses and Alien Requiems. And look, I haven't revisited those movies in a long time, so maybe I'd feel differently about them on second watch. But I was, look, the first 3 Alien movies, they're great, I'm
glad you're including Alien 3 in there because that is one that is derided an awful lot, and it has a very special place in my heart for multiple reasons. But yeah, I think Prometheus is great. I think Prometheus is fantastic. Covenant, not so much.
I gotta give it another shot. I think it was just one of those things where the hype was so astronomical for me, and it just didn't live up to what I wanted it to be. So it might have been just my own baggage, but I know it's been getting like a really big relook over the lot because it came out. I think it's 10 this year, right? It turns 10. I think so.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
and
is it really?
A bunch of people were talking about it recently because I think the anniversary was 10.
Maybe I'll watch it again and write something for Dread Central.
I mean,
maybe we'll see.
I'm around. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up and give this our rating out of 5?
I just want to say that one of my favorite moments in this movie, because it's so silly in like retrospect, but like I remember watching it as a kid and being like, oh yeah, was when all of them decided to start open fire. They're just blindly firing and then losing all of their ammo and they're shooting at nothing.
Yes.
But that's the thing. It's it sets up the stage for why you should be so afraid of this thing. It does it beautifully. It does it as well as Dr. Loomis talking about how dark Michael Myers is. All of these action beats set up the Predator to be this amazing slasher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really, and the Predator is stalking them, following them, lurking. We're seeing from his point of view.
Yeah,
the movie borrows very liberally from Halloween. But
it does. You're right.
Slasher doesn't, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah, and you initially emailed and said, I know Predator's not really a horror movie. And I was like, whoever said Predator wasn't a horror movie?
It's the same people who say Jaws isn't a horror movie, which they can piss off.
They're just objectively incorrect, you know what I mean? What?
No, I know. But it's like I because it's sci-fi, because it's action, I think people try to take away. Look, people are always trying to take away from our genre. People are always trying to relegate horror into the gut. I mean, it's like people who are like, well, Get Out is a thriller. It's like, no, Jordan Peele says it's a horror movie. It's a horror movie. It's so obvious when you watch it, it's a horror movie. But, again, people are trying to reclaim Sixth Sense or Silence of the Lambs. They're horror movies.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I also think it's really tricky when we do like things that are in different genres, because for some reason it seems like the vast majority of people want to know it's this genre or it's this genre. Yeah. And so when things blend in between there, because this is action, this has horror, I would say that the first half of this movie is almost a horror movie, because they're literally walking through and seeing things that shouldn't be, skinned bodies, like just the horror that they're seeing up until like the action points is like a mini horror movie. It's the slasher bit before where it's like something creepy here, something's following us, and then it finally goes into the final act of just all out brawls. But I do think there's sometimes people are always like, it has to go into this one idea of what I think horror is. And I think horror is Jason. And that's what I think horror is, right? It's like, so anything that goes above that, it's like, oh no, that's actually a thriller because I like it. And I don't like horror.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think
so
that,
weird.
I think that happens all the time. But I'm a big advocate of, defending, I'm going to this, horror writers picket tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure
Hell yeah.
my sign is going to be Jaws as a horror movie. And I'm just going to march around with that.
I love when you had the Poltergeist, Toby Hooper directed Poltergeist sign. Another article you read for Dread Central, but
That's
not
right.
to plug again, but love that too.
Put that in the descriptors. I loved writing that article, and thank you for the chance to do that, because every time that comes up now, I just send people that article to shut them up. But yeah, Toby Hooper directed Poltergeist. The funniest part about that was Deadline Hollywood picked up that photo of me and put it on their like best sign page. I'm like, what a obscure like niche horror argument that like went mainstream.
I mean, it's funny because Jaws is very similar to Predator in that it is merging different genres together. Also, as a kid, I used to call the shark Jaws.
Yeah.
So like the Jaws, Predator, you know.
Absolutely. Little did you know his name was Bruce after the lawyer.
Right, exactly. Did you have anything else, Mary Beth?
No, I think I'm ready for us to wrap this sucker up and give it a rating out of 5. So, Terry, you're up first. How many ugly motherfuckers out of 5 do you give Predator?
I'm not as big of a fan of this series as I am Alien. That's why I was like, what? No. But I think this is a really fantastic action, horror, sci-fi conglomeration of everything that is the 80s. Like, this is the kind of movie that we'd get a ton of in the 80s, that kind of crossing different genre lines, and I love that. I think I like that it is, whether it means to or not, is sort of kind of tearing down this idea of the alpha male, because it's not his unique strength that saves him in the end. It's figuring out what the alien does and trying to outsmart it. I think it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of nostalgia for this one too. For me, it's 4. I'm gonna give it 4 ugly motherfuckers out of 5. What about you, Mary Beth?
I'm also gonna give it 4. I just have a fond memory of both watching it when I was younger, and then also my friends watching it, and now it being a recurring joke in our friend group about the Predator being sexy. But that aside, it is such like a quintessential action horror sci-fi, like, as we talked about the Venn diagram of Joe Russo, but it's like such a good Venn diagram of like all of the things in the 80s that people liked in one movie, it feels like. And it's so 80s without feeling like, it's not like maybe aesthetically super 80s, but like the subject matter is very 80s. And I kind of love that as like a cultural object. And it's so homoerotic, but not at all at the same time. And I do maybe wish it was gayer, so that's why I'm getting a 4. Joe, you have the final word. How many ugly motherfuckers out of 5 do you give Predator?
Well, look, I think people already know what I'm going to give it, because, as we said, it is a quintessential Joe Russo movie. It is all of my interests combined. It terrified me. It stayed with me as I grew up, and it delighted me in different ways, from being terrifying to being fun. It is a pop culture phenomenon that is carried on for decades. 5 ugly motherfuckers out of 5 ugly motherfuckers.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Joe, for joining us and talking about Predator. Where can listeners find you, and what do you have coming up that you can share or talk about?
Yeah, they can find me on the social medias. I'm at Joe Russo Tweets on Twitters, and I'm at Joe Russo Graham on Instagram. And then they can hear me every other Wednesday on the Postmortem with Mick Garris podcast on the Dread Podcast Network.
Hell yeah. So listeners, you've heard from us. We want to hear from you. What was your experience with Predator? You can let us know by sending us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. And if you want to help support us, we do have a Patreon.
Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there. Most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
When you pick up some scratches, cause you want a fun break, the playful way you scratch is the next choice you should make. You can make your dog's leg kick and scratch with that. You could even grab a laser pointer and use your cat. You can build yourself a homemade scratching machine, or use a piece from your chess set. Go ahead, grab the queen. Scratch like a DJ with your record player. A cactus could scratch off that scratchable layer. Cause when it comes to scratching, there's a million playful ways. Thanks to scratchers from the California Lottery, a little play can make your day.
Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.